Aloha everyone, Frayed Laces here, and today we're going to try something just a little bit different. Today I'm going to bring you a video post, obviously, and today's video post comes from an email that I received. And this email reads, "Dear Frayed Laces, I recently read the book You Are an Ironman and feel like I've been bitten by the triathlon bug. The only problem is I have nowhere to start. What advice do you have on what type of bike to buy? Sincerely, Kelly." Well, Kelly's email is one that I get very often, and I'm really glad that she sent me this email and that I have this chance to kind of explain to some of you out there on my personal experience on tips to buy or things to look for with your first triathlon bike. I know there's many misconceptions out there that if you're going to do a triathlon, you need to immediately spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a bike. And I'm here to tell you that is just simply not the case. The bike that you see here is my current triathlon bike. And yes, this is a bike that I bought after several years of racing on another bike and after doing much research. And what I'm going to tell you is that you don't need to necessarily buy a triathlon bike. It is a huge misconception. If you're just looking to break into the triathlon scene, what I really recommend you purchasing is a road bike. Road bikes are easier to handle than triathlon bikes, and they tend to be a lot more inexpensive. And I know that you are tempted to try to buy the most expensive bike you can, but I really encourage you to start off with kind of an entry-level road bike, spend some time on that for a few years, get to know your feel for a bike, get to learn how to handle your bike, know what features that you're interested in, and then consider moving up. So let me tell you a little bit about the difference between a triathlon bike and a road bike. As I mentioned previously, I raced on a road bike, and I actually raced on that road bike for my first 2 years in triathlon. I did many sprint distances, Olympic distances, and I even did my first half Ironman on a road bike. So this is a triathlon bike, and the difference between a triathlon bike, a lot of it has to do with the geometry and with the handlebar system. This triathlon bike has aero bars, and on these aero bars at the end are where you actually shift your gears on a triathlon bike. On the handlebar part out here is where you have the brake. Now the main difference between a road bike and a triathlon bike is that you're going to be shifting your gears on a road bike at the same place where you have your brake set up. So what you can do with a road bike, if you want to have a road bike and use it for triathlon, is you can simply buy a regular road bike and get something called clip-on aero bars. And those aero bars are going to allow you to get into the aero position that you're familiar with seeing triathletes do, which makes you more aerodynamic. But you're still going to be changing your gears at the end where you have your brake system. And that's what I did for my first 2 years in triathlon. Now, if you're going to be taking that option and you're going to be taking a road bike and then you're going to be putting aero bars onto your road bike, your geometry on the bike, the way that you're seated on the bike, is going to be a lot different than you would be on a road bike. If you're on a regular road bike riding where you would normally put your hands, which would be by your brakes, you're going to be a little more upright in your posture. But if you're in the aero position and you're tucked down like that, you're going to be positioned a little bit differently on your saddle. So if you choose to go with clip-on aero bars on a road bike, you want to make sure you get something called a forward-facing seat post. And that's going to be a seat post, and unfortunately I don't have an example for you here, but that's going to be a seat post that you're going to use that's going to shift your geometry of how you're positioned on the bike so that you're better in that aero position. Okay, so now that we've covered about how the basics on how you can just simply get a road bike, the next question is what kind of road bike to buy. I know there are so many options out there as far as brands, as far as where you buy the bike, whether you get a new bike, a used bike, Craigslist, the internet. But let me share some information from my first few years of triathlon. When I bought my bike, and this is something that I really wish that someone had told me, I never would have imagined the investment and the continual maintenance that I would have to put in my bike the first few years that I had it. I am so fortunate that I made the decision to purchase my bike from a local bike store, because when I bought that bike from the local bike store, included in the price of the bike was unlimited free minor adjustments, lessons on how to change flat tires. I went into that bike shop probably once every 2 weeks for the first few years as I simply got more and more comfortable with my bike. So although it may be tempting to think about buying a used bike because it may be cheaper, you really want to factor in the cost that may be associated with continual maintenance. And I really encourage you to consider buying from a local bike shop because you can build that relationship. And if they're a good and honorable local bike shop, they will be doing the free minor maintenance. They will be willing to teach you and to really get excited and to let you get the knowledge that you need to do minor maintenance as you get more experienced with your bike. The last thing that I want to share with you is that it really doesn't matter what brand of bike you have. What's most important is the fit. Again, this is where the benefit of buying from a local bike shop can come into play. If you can buy from a local bike shop where there's going to be someone who knows how to get you fitted to your bike appropriately, you can make sure that you have the bike that has the right dimensions and has the right geometry for your body position. So you want to make sure that you buy from someone who you trust, and you buy from someone where they're going to be willing to do those minor adjustments and to fit you on your bike so that you're as most comfortable as possible. Because we all know that the bottom line comes down to comfort. If you're not comfortable on your bike, you're not going to be willing to ride and train on your bike. And if you're not willing to get out there and put the hours on the bike, you're not going to be able to get better on your bike and improve as a cyclist. Okay, so just to summarize, if you're a beginner triathlete and you're thinking about buying a bike, what I encourage you to do is to seek out a reputable bike shop, one that you know is going to put the time and the energy into helping you pick out the perfect bike that fits you the best, and who's really willing to put in that time and the energy to do minor maintenance, but also to show you and give you the tools and knowledge you need so that you can ultimately do the maintenance on your own bike. You want to look for a road bike. I do not recommend the most expensive road bike. A few years down the line, once you've gotten more comfortable with your bike and you know what you're looking for as far as features, you can consider buying a more expensive road bike or triathlon bike. And then finally, if you buy a road bike and you want to get into that aerodynamic position, I encourage you to think about buying clip-on aero bars and a forward-facing seat post so that you can be in that right geometry. So I hope that those tips helped some of you beginners out there. If not, if you have any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And also for those of you experienced triathletes out there, if you have any knowledge or tips of wisdom to share with those beginners, I encourage you to leave some of that in the comments below. So that is all for now, and I will see you next time. Aloha!